What if the biggest reason your business isn't growing isn't your marketing, your team, or even your product? What if the real problem is much more personal, how you think about the business itself? Because there's a dangerous myth that quietly destroys more businesses than bad timing, bad partners, or bad ideas. It's the myth of scalability, and it sounds like this. My business isn't scalable. I need to switch to something else. It starts innocently enough. You look around and see others with sleek, automated systems. You hear about SaaS companies pulling in millions without lifting a finger. And then you look at your own operation, manual, human-dependent, messy, and start to think, maybe I'm doing it wrong. That thought doesn't just sit idle. It grows. It whispers in moments of stress. It tempts you to jump ship before the storm has even passed. And eventually, it convinces you to abandon something that works for something you think will be easier. But here's the truth. The idea that a business has to be scalable to be valuable, that's a myth. A myth that doesn't just distort your decisions, it erodes your patience, your commitment, and ultimately your results. In this video, we're going to dismantle that belief piece by piece. We'll walk through what scalability really means, how every business is scalable in its own way, and why the pursuit of a perfect model often leads you further away from success. We'll cover the real reasons growth feels hard, the hidden cost of changing too often, and the uncomfortable truth about what it actually takes to win in business over time. Because the problem might not be your business. The problem might be how fast you expect it to change. And that's not a business issue, that's a patience issue. Let's get into it. Section 1, the scalability myth, why it's a trap. But it introduces its own issues: inventory management, supply chain delays, warehouse space. You escape one bottleneck only to run into another. 3. The SaaS or software business. This is often seen as the gold standard. It takes more time, more capital, and more skill to launch. But once it's live and working, adding customers barely increases costs. It seems like a dream. But again, the dream comes with a price, usually years of struggle before the payoff. So, is one better than the other? No. Each comes with trade-offs. Each solves one problem by creating another. You're not avoiding problems, you're choosing different ones. Here's where the myth of scalability becomes a trap. Entrepreneurs start thinking, if I just switch to another model, all my problems will go away. They think the grass is greener with software or passive income or digital products, but they forget every business type has ceilings. Every path has friction. The real problem isn't whether a business is scalable. The real problem is whether you have the stomach to endure the specific problems that come with your path. For example, if you run a fitness coaching business, your growth cap might be training enough coaches to handle new clients. So, you're tempted to create an online course instead. But now, your new problem is how to get thousands of people to buy a course with zero human interaction. You went from coaching humans to fighting for attention on the internet. You just swapped one hard thing for another. Here's the deeper issue. The people who say their business isn't scalable often aren't talking about logistics. They're talking about emotion. But difficulty isn't the enemy of growth. It's the signal that you're growing. Scalability isn't about finding the easiest path. It's about choosing the hard path you're willing to walk consistently. Because every scalable business was once a non-scalable business, until someone built the infrastructure to support its growth. So the real question isn't, is my business scalable? It's, am I willing to endure the work it takes to scale it? Every business has a ceiling, not because it's broken, not because you lack talent, but because constraints are built into the very nature of business. You don't escape limits by changing your model. You simply trade one limit for another. And the moment you understand this, truly internalize it, you gain clarity. The illusion that there's a perfect business without friction dissolves. Let's start with a simple truth. There are two types of business constraints: demand constraints and supply constraints. Imagine a gym owner in a small town. They have trainers, space, and a solid system. But the problem? Not enough people walk in the door. This is a demand-constrained business. The supply side is ready, but the customer pipeline is dry. They don't need more trainers, they need more attention. Now picture a growing accounting firm. They're flooded with new clients. People want the service, but they can't find enough competent accountants to handle the workload. That's a supply-constrained business. Demand is high, but delivery is bottlenecked. Here's the twist. Both problems are solved the same way, through promotion. If you need more clients, you promote your service to get attention. If you need more staff, you promote your company to attract talent. The mechanism is the same. You're always selling, just to different people. And here's something even more interesting. Businesses often alternate between these two states as they grow. You solve a demand issue, then suddenly realize you don't have the supply to fulfill. You fix the supply, and now you need more customers to cover your new capacity. It becomes a cycle. Demand, supply, demand, supply. Each time you grow, the constraint shifts. This is not a flaw in the system, it is the system. So when business owners say, "I feel stuck," what they usually mean is, "I've hit a constraint and I thought it would be easier." But constraints are not failures. They are simply the next challenge. Let's go deeper with another example. Imagine a plumbing company. They've built a good reputation and have more calls than they can handle. So the owner says, "We need to hire more technicians." But plumbers are in short supply. It takes time to find the right fit, train them, and trust them with client work. During that time, the owner suffers. Clients are frustrated. The team is stretched thin. And then comes the dangerous thought. Maybe I should start something new, something scalable. But here's what they miss. If they switch to another business, they'll encounter a different form of suffering. Maybe it's lower margins. Maybe it's intense competition. Maybe it's no demand. It's like being stuck in traffic and thinking, "I should take a different route." But every road has its own slowdowns. There's no express lane to success. You simply pick which traffic you're willing to sit in. The gym owner struggles to fill classes. The accountant struggles to hire help. The e-commerce store owner struggles with shipping delays. The software company struggles to find skilled developers. Every model has pain. But when you switch too often, you stay in permanent startup mode. Always building, never scaling. The seasoned entrepreneur doesn't try to eliminate problems. They learn to navigate them. They understand that the goal is not to find an easy business, but to find one where the problems match their skills and personality. And here's the most freeing insight. Once you stop resisting the existence of problems, you get better at solving them. You stop spinning in circles and start moving forward, even if it's slow. Every business is like a video game. And each stage has new enemies. You beat one boss and another one appears. It never ends. And that's okay, because progress isn't about removing challenges, it's about increasing your ability to handle them. So the question becomes, are you trying to escape the game, or are you learning to level up? Next up, Section 3, the pain of scaling is not a bug, it's a feature. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. Section 3, the pain of scaling is not a bug, it's a feature. There's a moment in every business journey when the pressure builds. Revenue stalls, operations feel strained, problems seem endless. And in that moment, most entrepreneurs ask themselves the same question. Why is this so hard? But here's the truth that few people want to hear. It's supposed to be hard. The pain isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that you're building something that matters. Difficulty is not a bug in your business. It's a feature, and it's built into the system of growth. Let's unpack what that really means. Picture this. You run a busy HVAC company. Business is booming. phones are ringing, but you can't take on more jobs because you don't have enough technicians. So you decide to fix it. You post job ads, reach out to your network, start interviews, begin the onboarding process. Finally, you make a few hires. But guess what? Nothing changes right away. You're still overwhelmed, still turning away jobs, still feeling the same stress every morning. You've done the work, but the results haven't kicked in yet. This is the brutal reality of business growth, the lag time between action and outcome. The space between doing the right thing and seeing the benefit. And that space is painful. It creates doubt, it makes you second guess, it tempts you to pivot. But this waiting period is where most businesses fail. Not because the model is flawed, but because the founder loses patience. 6 months later, the hires start to produce. Jobs get done, revenue climbs, stress lowers. But if you changed course during those months of waiting, you never would have made it here. This is what makes growth so difficult. The most important solutions in business take time, and in that time, nothing looks different. You're doing the work, but the world hasn't caught up yet. It feels like standing in front of a burning room with a hose and watching the fire rage, knowing that the water takes time to flow. And it's in this moment that most entrepreneurs panic. They change pricing, they restructure teams, they launch new offers, all while the original solution was already in motion. The result? They break what was working before the fix could work. It's like tearing down a house while the renovation is halfway done, because the kitchen still looks old. The outcome isn't speed, it's chaos. And what's worse, you end up with 2 problems instead of 1. The original constraint still exists, and now you've added instability to your offer, your team, and your systems. They turned a temporary problem into a permanent mess. But the entrepreneurs who win, they're not the ones who find quick fixes. They're the ones who can sit in the fire. They're the ones who say, I know we're doing the right thing. I know it takes time, and I'm willing to hold the line. They don't need constant progress to keep going. They need clarity. And once they have it, they endure. Because they understand that solving a problem doesn't mean instant relief. It means living with that problem while the solution takes root. Think about a garden. You plant seeds, water the soil, but for weeks there's no sign of life. Then one day, a sprout appears. But if you dug up the soil every few days to check on it, you'd never let it grow. Your business works the same way, and here's the twist. Once you solve that one big problem, another one appears. It's not a bug, it's not failure, it's just the next stage of the game. You hire enough people. Great, now you need more customers. You get more customers. Now your systems break. You fix your systems. Now your margins shrink, and on it goes. The pain of scaling doesn't go away. It simply changes shape. It evolves. And if you expect the pain to stop, you'll chase that illusion forever, burning everything in your path. But if you understand that difficulty is the cost of growth, then you stop resisting and you start building. Mini hook. The most valuable businesses weren't built by the smartest people. They were built by the most patient ones. Next up, Section 4, the hidden cost of change, why switching kills momentum. Let me know if you'd like to continue. Section 4, the hidden cost of change, why switching kills momentum. When things get uncomfortable in business, the natural instinct is to act, to change something, to do anything that feels productive. But here's the dangerous part. Sometimes, the action that feels urgent is the exact thing that breaks the system. Every time you make a major change in your business, you pay a hidden fee. It's called the cost of change, and it's one of the most expensive mistakes entrepreneurs make. Let's start with a metaphor. Imagine your business is a brick wall. Each brick represents a process, a hire, a decision that keeps your operation standing. Over time, you've placed those bricks carefully. They're not perfect, but they're holding up the structure. Now imagine one brick isn't performing well. Maybe it's a service process, a piece of software, a price point. You feel the urge to move it. But here's the problem. If you pull that brick out, you might loosen the others. And if you put it in a new place without a full plan, you risk collapse. The cost of change isn't just about switching one thing. It's the ripple effect that change creates across the business. Let's take a real-world example. A successful design agency grows fast, but then they hit a hiring bottleneck. The founder thinks, we can't find enough senior designers. Let's change the model. Let's do done-for-you templates instead. That pivot feels smart, scalable, but now the sales message no longer fits. The operations team doesn't know how to support the new offer. Longtime clients start to leave. The original problem, hiring, still isn't solved, but now they've added 3 more. What began as an attempt to simplify ends in chaos. Why? Because they ignored the transition cost. They thought they were improving the model, but they were really disrupting a system that was already delivering results. And this is the part no one tells you. The more successful your business becomes, the more fragile change becomes. In the beginning, you can pivot easily because there's not much to break. But once you have a team, a client base, and systems in motion, every change introduces risk. Here's what often happens. People confuse a slow result with a broken strategy. They believe that if something's not working fast, it's not working at all. So they pull the brick, they tweak the offer, they adjust the messaging, and suddenly, the whole wall starts shaking. Momentum in business is fragile. It's built slowly and destroyed quickly. When you make big changes, you don't just pause progress, you reset the climb. And the more often you do it, the harder it becomes to gain traction again. That's why seasoned entrepreneurs are so cautious with change. They don't chase every shiny idea. They wait, they test, they validate, and only then do they commit. Because they know that a change made in panic rarely solves the real problem. It just delays the solution that was already underway. Let's take another look through the lens of timing. Imagine your business is finally making progress. You've hired a few key people. Marketing is humming. Sales are steady. But then, you notice a slowdown in delivery. The temptation is strong. Cut back on marketing, switch to a new fulfillment method, maybe even raise prices to slow demand. But here's the catch. The team is still adjusting. The new hires haven't hit their stride yet. The systems are still stabilizing. And if you change direction now, they never will. You just hit the pause button on your own progress. It's like trying to change a car's engine while driving 60 miles per hour on the highway. The risk of failure is high, not because the engine is bad, but because you picked the wrong time to fix it. The answer isn't always to do something new. Sometimes the answer is to stick with what's working and let it play out. Endurance is not inaction, it's commitment. It's the decision to preserve momentum rather than gamble it away for the illusion of speed. Mini hook. Most businesses don't fail because they lack solutions. They fail because they don't let their solutions mature. Next up, Section 5, Features versus Bugs, Learning to Love the Ugly Parts. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. Every business has parts that feel broken. Hiring takes forever. Customers churn, systems glitch, margins fluctuate. It's easy to assume these are mistakes, bugs in the system. But what if they're not bugs at all? What if they're features? In software, a feature is something intentional. It serves a purpose, even if it's inconvenient. But many entrepreneurs mislabel their features as bugs, and that mistake leads them to fix what was never broken. Let's take a service business. Maybe you run a bookkeeping firm. You complain that good bookkeepers are hard to find, that it takes time to train them, that the quality is inconsistent. So you think, maybe I should automate this, maybe I should switch models. But here's the truth. The people problem isn't a bug, it's the business. People are the product. You're not broken. You're just in a people business. And in people businesses, hiring and training are not annoyances to fix. They are core operations. The moment you stop resisting that reality, you can get better at managing it. Instead of looking for a way out, you build better systems to deal with the constraints you signed up for. Now flip it around. You're running a SaaS company. Developers are expensive, deadlines slip, bugs pile up. That's not an accident either. That's the cost of software. The feature of software is scalability. The trade-off is complexity. You don't eliminate that. You manage it. Some problems are not solvable. They're manageable. They don't go away. They just shrink in impact when handled properly. Every type of business has these. In physical products, it's inventory and shipping delays. In coaching, it's client retention. In real estate, it's tenant management. In digital marketing, it's ad performance swings. You can build processes. You can build buffers. But you don't get to eliminate these problems. They're built into the model. Understanding this changes how you lead. It shifts your focus from removal to resilience. You stop asking, how do I make this go away? And start asking, how do I become the person who can handle this every day without breaking? This is the shift from frustration to mastery. Because mastery doesn't mean everything's smooth. It means you can navigate the rough parts without derailing. It means you've accepted that these flaws are part of the deal, and you've chosen to engage anyway. Let's use another metaphor. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. It's steep, cold, exhausting. You wouldn't stop every 20 minutes and say, why is it still steep? You expect the slope, you train for it, you plan your pace around it. The difficulty is part of the climb. Business is the same. And when you accept the features for what they are, you stop wasting energy trying to remove the slope. You use that energy to climb better, stronger. You can finally stop redesigning your business every time it gets hard, because hard was always part of the job description. The day you stop fighting the nature of your business is the day you start making real progress. Next up, Section 6, the timeline illusion. You're not behind, you're just impatient. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. One of the biggest traps in business isn't choosing the wrong model, it's choosing the wrong clock. Most entrepreneurs don't fail because their businesses don't work. They fail because their expectations don't match reality. They expect fast results, immediate feedback, explosive growth. And when that doesn't happen, they assume something's broken. But it's not broken, it's just not finished. Let's talk about time. In real business, growth takes years, not quarters, not months, years. That's not a mindset trick, it's a fact. Look at any meaningful company, whether it's a restaurant, a local service, a franchise, or a global software brand. The real breakthrough didn't happen in month 6. It happened after year 5, year 7, or even year 10. You can build something amazing in 10 years, but you can destroy something promising in 10 months if you constantly judge it by an unrealistic timeline. Here's where it gets dangerous. You tell yourself, if we don't double this year, we're falling behind. So you start pushing, you make aggressive changes, you cut corners, you lower standards, you try to speed up the results. But growth doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to consistency. You don't grow faster by pushing harder. You grow faster by getting better, and getting better takes time. Think of business like a compounding investment. You make deposits every day into your brand, your team, your systems. At first, nothing changes. Then slowly, it builds. Then it builds faster. But only if you leave it alone long enough to compound. Most entrepreneurs interrupt the compounding. They start over too soon. They chase new ideas. They compare themselves to others who are on a different timeline. And every time they jump, they reset the clock. Imagine planting a tree. Every time it doesn't grow fast enough, you dig it up and replant it somewhere else. What happens? It never grows roots. It never bears fruit. The tree wasn't the problem. the timeline was. Let's look at a real-world example. A business coach builds an audience. They start making consistent sales. It's working, but it's not growing fast enough. So they launch a new offer. Change the audience, switch to group programs, shift to courses. And suddenly, the whole machine slows down. They reset their traction. They stop the compound growth. Not because the business was wrong, but because the timeline felt too slow. This is what creates the illusion of failure. You think you're behind, when really, you're just in the early innings of a long game. And here's the irony. The rush to succeed quickly often becomes the reason you never do. Because when you rush, you compromise. You cut the wrong things. You add too much. You change the parts that were already working. And instead of playing the long game, you play a game of loops, starting and restarting forever. So what's the alternative? You pick a lane. You make a plan. You commit to a realistic timeline and you stay focused through the slow starts, the setbacks, and the uncertainty. You stop asking, why isn't it growing faster? And start asking, how can I stay consistent for longer? Success isn't about speed, it's about stamina. You want to change the world? You probably can, but not by next Tuesday. Not without help, not without systems, and not without time. This isn't a race to win this year. It's a mission to build something that matters over the next decade. Mini hook. Your business isn't behind schedule. Your schedule is out of sync with how real growth works. Next up, Section 7, Opportunity Cost and the FOMO Trap. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. Section 7, Opportunity Cost and the FOMO Trap. Every entrepreneur has felt it, the itch to chase something new, the voice that says, maybe I'm in the wrong business, maybe I'm missing out. This is the fear of missing out, disguised as logic, and it's deadly, because it tricks you into abandoning progress for possibility. Opportunity cost is real. When you commit to one path, you give up others, but the solution isn't to grab more opportunities. The solution is to choose with intention. Let's use an analogy. Picture a table with dozens of piles of problems. Each pile represents a business, a restaurant, a coaching agency, a trucking company, a software startup. Every entrepreneur throws their own pile onto the table. Now, imagine you get to look through every pile and choose a new one. Would you trade? Maybe once, maybe twice. But eventually you realize something. Every pile has pain. Some are familiar, some are foreign, but none are easy. The longer you stick with your own pile, the better you get at handling it. You build systems, you learn rhythms, you understand the terrain, and slowly your pile becomes lighter, not because the problems disappear, but because you've learned how to carry them. But when you switch to someone else's pile, you start over. You go back to zero. You lose momentum. You lose context. You lose advantage. That's the trap. The FOMO trap tells you that something else will be easier, but it's rarely true. In fact, the newer path is often harder because you haven't built the skills yet to solve those problems. Let's bring this into business terms. You run a creative agency. It's growing slowly. You hear about a friend making money in e-commerce. You think, I should do that instead. So you switch. But now you're learning product sourcing, ads, fulfillment, customer support. It's all new, all foreign, all untested. You left something familiar because it felt slow. But now you're not just slow, you're lost. That's what opportunity cost really is. It's not just the time spent on something else. It's the compounding power of what you gave up. It's the 3 years of learning you tossed aside. The customer trust you abandoned, the team momentum you erased. And this is where it gets even deeper. You're not just choosing business models, you're choosing identities. You're choosing where you plant your energy, your reputation, your long-term value. Every time you switch, you lose compound identity. And without that, you never become the person who owns the space. You don't get remembered. You don't get referred. You don't build leverage. The best opportunities don't just come to those who chase them. They come to those who earn credibility through time. Think about the entrepreneurs who seem lucky. They're not just lucky, they're consistent. They stuck with something long enough for the outside world to trust them with bigger opportunities. And if you don't believe that, look closer. Almost every overnight success was built on years of obscurity. Quiet work, steady effort, boring repetition. It's not flashy, it's not fast, but it's powerful because FOMO fades, but trust compounds. You don't need 10 different businesses. You need one business done with 10 times the focus. Mini hook. The business you already have is your best shot at freedom, not the one you keep dreaming about. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. Next up, Section 8, the discipline of sticking with it. Why execution is everything. Ideas are easy, excitement is easy, planning is easy, but execution, the boring daily grind of doing the thing, is what separates the dreamers from the builders. Most businesses don't fail because they had the wrong idea. They fail because the idea was never carried far enough, never matured, never executed with consistency. This is the discipline of sticking with it, and it's the hardest skill in business. Let's be clear, execution isn't about speed. It's about direction and endurance. It's about doing the same things the right way for long enough that they start to work. It means making the calls even when no one's answering. It means refining the offer even when sales are slow. It means showing up over and over until the market responds. Most entrepreneurs think they have a strategy problem, but they really have an endurance problem. They can't sit in the boring middle. They can't tolerate the silence between effort and result. But here's the thing about progress. It looks invisible for a long time. Then suddenly, it looks obvious. Think of a water pump. You crank the handle over and over. Nothing happens. You keep cranking. Still nothing. Then suddenly, water gushes out. Not because the last crank was special, but because of all the unseen pressure that built up before it. Execution works the same way. Let's look at an example. A landscaping business starts with 2 people and a truck. They show up on time, do great work, clients are happy. But growth is slow, so they keep refining. They build a referral system. They document training. They hire slowly. 3 years later, they have 5 trucks, a wait list, and high retention. No magic, just discipline. The founders didn't outsmart the market, they outlasted it. And this is what most people miss. Great businesses are not built in bursts of inspiration. They're built in seasons of repetition. The founder shows up, the team shows up, the system gets better, day after day. That's what execution looks like. Unremarkable in the moment, irreplaceable in hindsight. It also means protecting what works. Because the moment something starts working, the temptation is to mess with it, to optimize it, to rebuild it. But in doing so, you risk losing what made it work in the first place. There's a time to improve, but there's also a time to leave it alone and keep going. Sticking with it means resisting the urge to tinker when the real work is just to keep doing. That's what makes it hard. It's not fun, it's not dramatic, but it's the only way real scale happens, because execution compounds. Each day of focused work adds weight to your business, adds proof, adds experience, adds trust, and over time, that compound effect becomes unstoppable. Not because of one brilliant move, but because of 1,000 ordinary ones. The discipline of sticking with it doesn't just build businesses. It builds founders. It builds people who can lead, endure, and grow. People who stop needing to be right fast and start being consistent long enough to become great. Execution is the real moat, because few are willing to keep going. Long enough to build it. Next up, conclusion. Give time. Time, let the solution work. Let me know if you'd like to proceed. At some point, every entrepreneur faces the same internal storm, the urge to fix, to change, to speed things up, to make the pain stop. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Solutions take time. Progress needs space. And if you don't give time, nothing has a chance to work. You can't outrun the natural pace of growth. You can try, you can push, but the outcome is always the same: burnout, confusion, and broken systems. Every solution in business has a lag. You hire today, and the results show up next quarter. You launch a new system, and the efficiency gains take months to materialize. You improve your offer, and the market responds later, not now. That's why patience isn't a passive virtue. It's an active discipline. You have to keep showing up while it still feels broken. You have to keep leading while it still looks messy. You have to keep believing in the process while the outcome is invisible. That's what makes business hard. It's not just solving problems, it's living with them while the solution is still growing. And when your team looks to you for answers, your job is to say, yes, we see the fire. Yes, we're working on it. No, we're not changing the plan. Because if you change the plan every time it gets hard, you never get anywhere. You just stay stuck in the cycle of false starts. Constant change, endless restarts, and no real momentum. But if you stay the course, if you let the solution breathe, then something incredible happens. It starts working. The people you hired start performing. The systems stabilize. The customers return. The growth compounds. And it all starts to feel easier. Not because the business got easier, but because you got better at waiting. You stopped trying to force growth. You started letting it emerge. And here's the final truth. The most successful entrepreneurs are not the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who learn to carry it without flinching. They don't just build businesses, they build resilience. They know that growth is not about perfect timing or perfect models. It's about staying in the game long enough for the odds to tilt in your favor. That's the path. Give your solution time. Give your team time. Give yourself time. Because the thing that feels slow today might be the foundation of everything you've been waiting for. And if you quit now, you never get to see it. So hold the line. Let it build. Let it work. Play the long game. It's the only one that pays.